today I will be talking about the trees, and more specifically, how they communicate with each other. So most of you guys have been in the forest before, and you saw the trees towering over you. But what if I told you what you saw was just the tip of the iceberg? What made up the most part of the iceberg was all underneath you, the amazingly complex connections underground that you do not see. So why are we talking about trees today? Well, for me, I love nature. I go on hiking trips as often as possible, over the weekends to upstate New York, or on larger trips like this to Grand Teton National Park, and that's Yellowstone National Park. And before I knew about this, I passed in complete ignorance of the trees around me. But once I learned this, my entire world was broadened, and I could look outside and see the trees and think, there's a whole world out there ready to be discovered. Well, so today you can see me as Lorax. I will speak for the trees, I will tell you their mysteries, and plead you to have more awareness for them. So we're going to start off with this picture. Does this picture seem strange to you? You're probably wondering how this stump is able to survive without its photosynthesizing leaves. Well, to tell you the story, we have to go to a long time ago when these two trees started growing together as young saplings. And as they grew together, their roots grew entwined and a connection emerged between them. And through this connection, they were able to transfer nutrients between each other and communicate. Well, one day this tree was cut down, and it was in desperate need of sunlight to create glucose, but it couldn't. So the other tree sensed its urgent need for sugars and sent it over continuously over the years, supporting itself and its neighboring trees. And this may seem like a fairy tale, but this is all made possible by the underground connections. So when asked why we should protect our forests, most people would cite the trees' amazing ability to take carbon dioxide, make oxygen, and keep our earth cool. However, this process cannot be seen by our eye, and it's not a great motivation for average people to run out and care about the trees. But what if I told you that trees had a language? What if I told you that they have communities that support each other? What if I told you how similar they are to us? Well, first of all, like us, they feel this sort of pain. And pain allows us to locate our source of hurt and react to it. Similarly, when an insect eats the leaves of a tree, it can react to it. First, the damaged area around the leaf changes, much like how our blood clots and scabs form. And then it sends out toxins to the leaves to make it bitter and inedible for the insect, much like how our immune system fights off foreign invaders. And it takes this one step further by telling all of its neighbors that there's a danger coming. It warns its neighbors through pheromones and tells the other trees to start pumping toxins into their leaves to prepare themselves for this insect. Scientists discovered this when they observed a giraffe eating the leaves of an acai tree for a couple minutes. Then it walked away, passing many other trees until it was about 100 yards away and started eating again. They concluded that the giraffe knew of this process and went somewhere where the trees did not know of its presence. Another way trees communicate is through the Wood Wide Web, which is a play on words of our World Wide Web, which connects humans all over the globe. This was discovered by Dr. Suzanne Simard from British Columbia, Canada. She conducted an experiment where she planted two trees of different species next to each other. One she covered with a tarp, which prevented from photosynthesizing. Another she injected with a radioactive isotope of carbon. She came back a few days later, and with her Geiger counter, she not only detected radioactivity in the first tree, but detected it in the tree covered by a tarp. She came to the conclusion that the tree covered by the tarp needed sugar to keep it alive. So the tree with a radioactive carbon sent over nutrients, and along that, the carbon isotope was sent over, and this allowed her to discover this network. This network is aided by these fungi who form symbiotic relationships with the tree roots, which means that both parties benefit from this exchange. Because the fungi cannot photosynthesize themselves, They go around the soil collecting nutrients like phosphorus and sulfur, and they exchange it with the tree roots. They exchange the nutrients, and in return, they get sugars to keep them alive. And because they're so pervasive in the soil, they are able to connect roots of tens of hundreds of trees together, allowing the entire forest to exchange nutrients within itself. Well, do these trees communicate and exchange anything else besides nutrients and water? Well, these large dark green circles are mother trees. They are the hub of the neural networks. They are connected to hundreds of trees. Essentially, they're like our Penn Station. And they provide this sort of wisdom to the trees around them. Because they are so large, they take up so much water from the soil. Because their canopies are so thick, they block most of the sunlight from ever reaching the ground. So the saplings have to find a way around this. They are taught to be patient, to wait a couple hundred years before growing to maturity, and to be resourceful with their water. Now, another way trees communicate is through sound waves, which is particularly really astounding because that's how we communicate. Dr. Monica Galliano from University in Australia, she discovered this when she heard this crackling sound among the roots of some tree seedlings. This crackling sound was at a frequency of 220 hertz. And it turns out that the trees can actually detect this crackling sound. When she played this frequency back to the tree roots, they oriented their tips back to the sound, the direction of the sound. She concluded that they were able to recognize the sound and locate where it's coming from. Although research is just beginning in this field and we still do not know how this is happening or why this is happening, we know that something truly astounding is going on. Now, tree plantations, like the one you see here, they lack the diversity, the neural connections that natural forests have. Since their time in their tree nurseries, they're unable to form the connections, the underground networks that we see in natural forests, because in tree nurseries, their tree roots, which can grow up to 20 feet in diameter naturally, are cut down to less than 2 feet to make it easier to handle them. Furthermore, they never had older trees around them to teach them to be resourceful with their water and to grow slowly and patiently. So they shoot up and grow to maturity in less than 100 years and waste their water. Now, this is an image of clear-cut foresting. 78 million acres of trees are destroyed every year. Can you now imagine the pain the trees must have felt, the loss of the connections and the communities that took thousands of years to maintain? They're all gone. And the trees surviving still feel this loss as well. And we feel this loss too. Think about all the trees give us. First of all, they provide us the ability to breathe with their ability to give us oxygen from carbon dioxide. Second of all, they have numerous health benefits for us. The Japanese actually have a word for the health benefits felt from being among the trees. It's called shirin-yoku, or forest bathing. Your stress hormones decrease, your blood pressure reduces, and in a study done on the recovery time of patients in a hospital, patients who were exposed to green spaces were found to recover much faster. So the trees give us physical benefits. Well, lastly, they serve as a model for what our society should be like. And I've read an article titled "Communism in Trees Goes Underground." And although I'm not preaching this form of society, the trees can teach us a lot. Because for the trees, it's not about the survival of the fittest. It's about the survival of the forest. Together, many trees together can maintain moderate climates, consistent temperatures, and store water. Like that old African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes an entire forest to create the perfect conditions to raise a young sapling. And the trees take it this one step further. It only takes one tree to fall in the canopy to create a gap in the canopy, which puts all the other trees around it at risk for high winds that can destroy its limbs, and for sunlight, which can burn their leaves. One tree can lower the strength of the entire forest. So we see that a single tree can impact this entire forest, just like how a single child can change a village. So what I want you to take from this talk today, I want you to be more aware of the trees outside, to appreciate them, Maybe go out, see what you can take from them, what you can learn from them. And if you're very quiet, you might be able to hear the language of the trees. Thank you.